Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 138. So on my birthday, I asked my email list as well as Instagram, and I'm pretty sure I asked here on the podcast as well, what y'all want to learn from me. And I got a pretty good amount of answers, and some of them can easily be answered in a few sentences. So this is going to be like kind of a buffet episode where I just attend to a bunch of questions that I know I can answer quite quickly. So I'm going to do that. Tiny update first. I'm recording this on Monday, June 16th, which means that Friday I'm going live on stage, and I'm going to present 30 minutes of my one-woman show, The Monstrous Feminine, and after a short intermission, the yellow wallpaper is going to take place. I got to see it last weekend at the dress rehearsal, and it is stunning. So that's June 20th at 8 p.m., doors at 7:30 at the Queen Street Playhouse in downtown Charleston. I'll put the link in the show notes if you're in the area. I would love to see you. And that's the only update I have. It really is. Which is exactly according to plan, because it's Slow Work June. And I already have a show that I'm making, so like not much else is going on. I spent yesterday with my dad, and because it was Father's Day in the United States, and I like my parents. I'm very, very lucky. My sister came by for a couple of hours, and then I made my dad some steak, and we watched Ted Lasso. It was a great day. All right, so let's take some of these. I'm going to use the responses that I got on Instagram because they're short and sweet. And the question was, what would you like to see from me? What would you like to learn from me? And here's some of the things that I got asked that I can answer really quickly. Question 1 from Casadillo. How'd you not get hot with all of your hair? I get so hot with my hair. I keep it in a bun all the time. All the time. All the time. If it were down, yeah, I think it would be hot, but it's not. It's just always up. I really just keep it around as a costume prop, and because I fear commitment. But it doesn't make me hot. I don't know. It's just, it's up. That's it. I'll also note, when I asked the question of what would you like to learn from me, I pointed out, anything but trying to teach you how to do gazelle on a hoop, because I shan't be doing that. And so I got a question from my friend Ren. What's your beef with gazelle? I don't really have a beef with gazelle. I just don't want to teach it. I've taught gazelle 1 billion times. You should learn gazelle from someone who's so excited to teach it to you. And it would just be a disservice to both of us. So it's not really beef with gazelle. I just did it already. So I'm good. Next question from Amaryllis Ariel. Bern's secret to being so cute. I have no answer, because it is one of the great and wonderful mysteries of the universe, how such a grumpy little face can be so damn cute. But I also like to think that part of it is just how unapologetic Bern is. If you're new here and you have no idea what I'm talking about, Bern is my cat. I'll put a link to a photo of her in the show notes. My sister also has a tuxedo cat, and we send pictures back and forth. And the first time she saw Bern, she's like, "That is an ugly ass cat." And I'm like, "No, she's perfect." And truly, Bern's unapologetic nature is so inspiring to me. Not that I feel a constant need to apologize, because that was so 20 years ago. I don't do that anymore. But I love to see it happening naturally in a living creature. It's so great. Next question from my babe, Jenny. I'd attend the shit out of a creative writing retreat with you. I'm very intrigued by this. And it's not a question, right? It's a very compelling idea. So now my question to all of you is, does anyone else feel the same way? Otherwise, fuck it, me and Jenny will just go somewhere and write stuff. But if there's other interest, that I can work with. I also got many requests for tarot, witchcraft, magic, more tarot. People are very interested in learning how to read tarot. So I'm intrigued by that as well. Okay, next question. I'm going to keep this one anonymous, but it's how to rest, how to lead when you're falling apart. How to lead when your skin is falling off. That's not literal, it's figurative, because I know the situation this individual was referencing. And I wanted to call it out because I think a lot of the people who listen to this podcast are leaders coming into their leadership and getting comfortable with that fact. Like, shit, I'm it, or I'm the leader. Oh God. And if leader is not a word that resonates with you, you can use like the spark, the instigator. Like, if this is going to exist, I'm going to have to make this exist. That means that you will need to lead at some point. And you can, of course you can. You have what you need and the other skills you can learn on the way. But this is a good question. How to lead when you're falling apart. So consider if the experiences that you've had when you weren't leading, but you still had to like go to work. Say you're like falling apart on the inside, but you gotta go to work. You gotta do shit. There's some things that can't be put off and that have to be attended to. So you just do the minimum effective dose. And then hopefully you go home and get really into your self-care. The difference is that when you are leading, you can't give the minimum effective dose. When people have gathered because you have gathered them together and you're in the middle of the wheel that connects everyone, the minimum effective dose is not enough to be in integrity. You have to be able to give all. And there will be times when you need to lead, when your heart is broken and you're like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Well, you will. You'll find a way. And okay, here's a difference. So, like, intimacy is not necessarily disclosure, right? And if you're leading people through an experience, the experience needs to be about them. But it's different if you're leading an art project or something. So use your discretion. How much can you disclose to be in integrity and to be able to ask for the support that you need? But don't do that thing where you just suffer in silence. But if there is something that you need and can ask for, or some form of support, go ahead and ask for it. Like, if you are leading a video shoot and you have a migraine, it does no one any good for you to just be like weirdly distant and grumpy. You're like, y'all, I have a migraine. Can we please turn the lights down? I might take a little bit longer to respond when you ask me a question. I'm doing my best. I'm just at a reduced capacity today, but we're going to get it done. Also, things that can be helpful when you need to lead and you're in a reduced capacity are to stay very grounded, like active grounding exercises. In fact, I have an episode about grounding, like actively grounding, called Witchcraft for Grounding. It's episode 108, and I'll link that in the show notes if you're like, what the fuck is grounding? Like, well, you can do some of those things if you fancy. Also, you cannot not eat. Every mouthful is a victory if you're going through a hard time, but you can't not eat. Your brain won't work. And you need your brain to be able to work when you're leading. Put the food in your mouth, chew it, swallow, repeat. Just get the calories into your belly. And basically anytime someone's having a hard time, I would give them the advice of like, well, let's revert back to like plant health 101. Have you had water? Have you had nourishment? Is there sun? Have you had any sun in your eye holes? Have you had rest? And can you just use those 5 things? Nourishment, water, sun, rest. That's 4 things, isn't it? I'm leaving this in. Nourishment, water, sun, rest. Take care of those 4 things, and let's see where we are. Now, you might be like, why do you know this? Like, of course, I've had to lead things when I wasn't at my best. I've led a retreat with a broken heart before. And this right here is exactly how I did it. You lean into the joy that of connecting with them. The joy of what you're doing, what you came there to do in the first place. And take care of yourself as though you're a houseplant. Now, another thing that I want to say is that, like, while I do know what this feels like, usually I don't. Like, I'm generally a happy, well-adjusted person. If you find yourself feeling like this frequently, you may have some changes that you really need to make, some choices to make. Because I do know that no amount of self-care and treating yourself like a houseplant is any match for a situation that's actively harmful and continuing. No amount of self-care can correct that. So that's the invitation that I'll leave you with, that I'll leave that question with. And thank you for asking. Okay, and the last question that I got through Instagram was from my friend Sean, who's an amazing photographer, by the way. What led you into your creative path? What was the spark that started it all? My short answer to this question, and thank you for asking, by the way, it's really fun to be asked that question, is that I was born this way. I find most things to be uninteresting. I find a few things to be very interesting. And when I'm focused on something that I'm very interested in, it is very distressing for my attention to be pulled away from that thing. There's a word for this. It's called monotropism. I've learned a lot this year. So it's more like the creative life was the only life interesting enough to me that felt worthy of my life. I remember I was on my way to a job that I hated once when I was pretty young. And I was like, if I got hit by a bus right now because I was on my way to this like catering job that I hate, I would be so pissed. This is not worth getting hit by a bus for. And I think that quality, just like the way that my brain is built, has been one very annoying for a lot of people in my life. Because if you tell me something I don't think it's interesting, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I just won't remember it because my cognitive processes are reserved for things that are interesting. And there's not many of them. And it probably looks really, I know it did look really unbalanced from an outside perspective, especially when I was younger. Like, I'm going to buy a one-way ticket to Europe and couch surf and be homeless, and I don't know when I'm coming home. Yeah, that seems pretty unstable from an outside perspective. But for myself, I'm like, nope, this is the thing. This is definitely what happens next. Because that's where, like, when I leaned into that direction, I felt alive. And feeling alive is kind of the point. So, I mean, that is the answer. Like, anything that was interesting, fascinating to me, that made me feel like come alive and come to life and feel vital, is what I gave my time and attention to, for better or for worse, for literally richer or for poorer. And I would say, my friend Sean, you already know, because I think you're the same. And thank you for being in the world, and thank you for making your work. And this is to all of you. Thank you for leaning into the things that make you feel vital, and for better or for worse, and for richer or for poorer, to giving credence to that thing within you that begs to be moved. Because as we know, a God ignored is a demon born. And I am not afraid of demons, but I really dig walking around a world full of gods. So thank you all for existing, and thank you for being yourselves. Thank you to everyone who answered my little birthday ask. It meant a lot to me. I'm going to wrap this up. We've got shorter episodes this week during Slow Work June. If you have requests for future episodes, I'd love to hear them. I'm happy to put them on the list. And you can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative, or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. This podcast is powered by Patreon, and I want to thank very sincerely all of my patrons for trusting me, believing in me, and standing with me. We've got a big day on Friday, my friends. I cannot wait. I am not worried. I am ready. I could dive onto that stage. I'm so ready. And the next rendition will be alive. So thank you for making that possible. Thank you for making this podcast possible. All right, my friends, a God ignored is a demon born. Just wanted to say it again. It's an amazing quote. So keep leaning into that makes you feel alive. And don't go back to sleep.